Hey everybody, this is Ben Shepler in Group 4, and I'm talking about the people this week. So I'm talking about Daft Punk and their release of their album Discovery. So Daft Punk, a little bit about them, they are a duo, and they are Guy Manuel de Homem Christo and Thomas Bangalter. And before Daft Punk, they were in an indie band together, and it didn't go so well, and an interviewer inadvertently named their future project by saying that one of the songs in the band sounded like a bunch of Daft Punk. So then they started, after that band disbanded, they started Daft Punk in 1993 in Paris, France. So during the era of their album Discovery, which came out in 2001, they combined a lot of genres. Prior to this, they were very much kind of house electronic music. But in this album, they combined house, electronic dance, disco, synth pop, and rock. They recorded this album in their own home studio called Daft House. They wanted to record, or they wanted to capture a feeling of innocence, kind of going off of the idea of how children don't really judge music. They kind of just enjoy it for what it is. And they wanted to capture that on this album, just kind of have a feel-good, fun album. And they sought to keep their ideas more concise on this album than their previous album. And they do this by just introducing an idea and then moving on. So this album, Discovery, was released on March 3rd, 2001, and they recorded it using digital and analog equipment. So they used an iMac, Sony digital audio tape, and Logic, an analog recorder, and a Mackie mixer. And depending on the song and what sound they were going for, they would use the analog recorder or they would use a digital recorder. So the composition of this album, they cite that they only used 4 samples on the whole album, which is pretty small for a dance electronic album. They created their own samples though. They both play guitar, bass, and keyboard. So they would record whatever they wanted, and then they would sample it. And they used analog synths and keyboards as well, like Moog, Korg, Roland, Wurlitzer, lots of stuff from the 70s. They would program their drums, use vocoders, sequencers, and they would heavily affect the real instruments that they used, because they wanted to create something new that didn't really sound like what it was originally. And this came from the philosophy of bricolage, which is a French idea of using found materials to create something new. Alright, so I'm going to show you a little bit of Harder, Better, Faster, which is one of their most popular songs. Here it is. Okay, and that's it for me.